Welcome back to the Michael Brooks Show. Honor and pleasure to welcome Isiah James. He's running for Congress in the 9th District of New York City. Isiah, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, man.
It's my great pleasure. I've been
Absolutely.
watching you out here on the trail a couple of months. There's a lot of people, a lot of great people running for office, and it's tricky because, frankly, we can't get to everybody. Get to some, but it's an important and super noble undertaking. But you've really, we're here in New York, so there's that local part of it, but you're really out there, I think, just communicating on an extremely clear and visceral level. What's your story? Why are you running? What's it about?
Well, first, I think that we need to communicate on a clear and visceral level. You know what I mean? And I don't even think it's visceral. Visceral not in the sense that I'm trying to have an impact when I communicate, but visceral in the sense that people are really living this stuff, and they're like, well, you know what? This guy's talking to the issues that affect me. And clear, we don't need political speak anymore. People are tired of that. People want yes and no answers. You know what I mean? There are 5 letters that make up the 2 words you need to say when a voter asks you a question. And if you, you know what I mean? And if you have this big, long, drawn-out speech about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and just saying, will you fight for affordable housing? Yes. That's the first thing that should come out of your mouth. So, but my story is the American story, man. I'm son of immigrants. Well, my father is from Jamaica, came to Brooklyn in 1970. My mother grew up in Pascagoula, Mississippi, a little small sharecropping town on the coast. My grandmother, who just passed away 2 weeks ago.
Oh, sorry.
No, thank you, man. Yeah. She raised my mother, and they were sharecroppers. And after my mother was in segregated South, separate schools, separate businesses, everything. And after Dr. King was assassinated in 58 or 68, my grandmother was like, all right, I got to get out of the South. And she moved up here to New York. My parents met. My father, believe it or not, who's still not a citizen to this day, he came over on like a guest worker program from Jamaica. There were 25 Jamaicans he came over with. 2 of them came back from Vietnam. 1 of them was my father. So yeah, even to this day, and my dad's a veteran. So I'm one of 11 kids. We didn't have much growing up. We grew up like dirt poor. I remember, you remember when McDonald's used to have the free ketchup, what you could just go and grab? Mm-hmm. So we were so poor at some time, my mom would send all of us in there to grab 2 handfuls of ketchup. And she would make soup out of that. And that would be our dinner, that and bread. And that would be our dinner. We were homeless at one point growing up, and there wasn't a lot of economic opportunity for people who looked like me in my neighborhood. I got buddies.
What was your neighborhood?
I grew up in Flatbush and down in Florida.
Yep.
So I have buddies right now who are in jail 27, 30 years, life. I have a lot of buddies who are dead, not from the military, just from the streets. So I joined the Army at the age of 18, 3 months out of high school, and I joined the Army. And 30 days out of basic training, I was on my way to Iraq.
30 days?
30 days.
Jesus Christ.
I graduated basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia, got to Fort Hood, Texas. 30 days later, I was on a plane headed to Iraq. Didn't even get to see my family before I went because I didn't have enough leave saved up. So, and my first deployment was 15 months. 15 months. So,
what year was that?
That was October 2006 to January 2008 was my first deployment because I was part of the surge. Yep. We got extended. The next deployment was December. We left Christmas 2008 for the second deployment and got back December 2009. And then my third deployment was June 2010 to May of 2011 in Afghanistan. So during my time,
served in both.
Yeah, I served both fields. During my time, but that gives me the perspective of how corrupt the military-industrial complex is because I've been inside of that Leviathan. Most people can attack it from the outside, but they don't really understand what goes on inside until you're actually in there, and then you see how corrupt it is, and you're like, wow. So it was very eye-opening for me, you know what I mean? And I got wounded on one of my deployments. I'm 90% disabled. There's no hearing in my left ear. My eardrum got ruptured, blown out. My C5 vertebrae got jacked up. Had traumatic brain injury from IED blasts, PTSD. I still deal with PTSD to this day. I'll be very candid with you. Like a lot of veterans, I was dealing with a lot of demons when I got out of the military, and I almost killed myself. I remember sitting on my bathroom floor with a bottle of scotch and a bottle of sleeping pills, and I was just crying uncontrollably because I just didn't want to live life anymore. I didn't want to be here anymore because of the things I had seen and done, and just so much turmoil in my head. But as cliche as it sounds, something was like, you know what? You got to keep fighting because you have to keep fighting. And the very next day, I went to the VA hospital. You know what I mean? And they kept me in there for a few months while I was recovering and healing. And it was then and there I saw that people actually do give a damn about us.
Yeah.
But they're just so strapped for resources. They can't get to every person who needs help. But the money is there, but the resources are being held from those people. You know what I mean? And that's why I say we lose 22 veterans a day to suicide. If another country was killing our veterans at the rate we allow them to kill themselves, we'd be at war already.
Yeah.
We'd already went to war. But we lose 22 a day. A lot of them you see walking around here on the streets of Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So when the catalyst that helped me get to where I am now was when I met my wife. My wife, who's a public school teacher here in Brooklyn. She's the sweetest, most amazing woman, and I fell in love with her instantly. And church-going woman. I was like, there's no way she's going to want to be with me, how messed up I am. So instead of just leaving therapy, I pushed through, and I still have my demons. I still go to therapy to this day. But she is like that one ray of hope. I cling to her because her spirit is just such that, I mean, she's a 3K and pre-K teacher. So she deals with little kids all day. So she's so understanding and nurturing and all that stuff. And for most guys in the military, it's hard to admit you need a nurturer. I'm an infantryman, bro. Like, I literally got shot at for a living. I got 39 months of combat. I done been shot, blown up, IED, rocket, you name it. Never ask for help in the military. It's not something we do. But outside, when I saw her genuineness, and you know what I mean, sometimes I just sit there with my wife and I just put my head on her shoulder. I'm like, I just gotta let out a sigh of relief knowing she's there, because she's literally like, you know, go back to Charlie Brown, like the security blanket.
What happens with the political trajectory too? Because you also studied politics, you studied public policy. Your wife is an educator. You talked about that a lot in terms of, so put it all together for what made you decide to run for office.
Okay, so I'll tell you down and dirty. So, like you said, so when I was going back on my second deployment, I had just been there 15 months. I had only been back in the States 11 months, and we get orders to go again. So I'm like, why the hell am I going right back to the place I just left? I just made it out. Why am I going back? So that's what got me to thinking not about the decisions that were being made, but who was making these decisions. So when I got out of the military, I enrolled in school at Brooklyn College, and I got my undergrad in political science. And that gave me like a little peek into how government operates. So then I went a step further and went to graduate school for public policy, and that's where you understand, because that's where the dollars and cents are chopped up. And that's where you see, well, wow, we do have enough money to do these things, but there's not being allocated to the right places. So doing that, I began working with other veterans who were going through the same thing, having a hard time transitioning. And I started to realize that the problems they were facing weren't just in school. They were in housing, they were in healthcare, they were in government. So that's when the activism got more and more welled up in me, and I started actually meeting with local elected officials. And the woman that I'm running against right now, I actually had a meeting with her in her office around some very critical issues.
Yvette Clark,
around some very critical issues to the community. And I think she almost felt insulted that somebody would challenge her and push her on these issues. And then she was just intransigent about everything, just like, we'll see. And I was pissed. And I came home and I told my wife, and she's like, well, you got to find something to do about it. And that night, like 2 a.m, bro, I Googled how to run for Congress. And I'm serious, I watched a bunch of
This is exactly how it should be. You don't need all these fucking people that have been thinking about how to do it since they were 3.
No.
This is I love this
I Googled how to run for Congress, saw some YouTube videos, watched YouTube videos for about a week, and I was like, all right, I got the gist of how to get this stuff started. So boom, that's how I got it started.
That's amazing. So I mean, you have a very clear understanding of how this connects with foreign policy, how this connects with empire, how this connects with the military-industrial complex, and just the incredible amount of money that goes to it and the cost it has across the world, and for our veterans, obviously, and our people in the service. And then very specifically, you pinpoint, I mean, you talk, obviously, you support Medicare for all, single payer, Medicare for all. Yeah, the no bullshit Medicare for all.
Yeah.
You know, you support all the right policy issues that people have been talking about. but particularly in a New York context, but any major city, and increasingly not even just major cities, you really pinpoint it. And I could be wrong, but when I listen to you speak, what really has got you with Congresswoman Clark is someone whose family has been in this neighborhood. She obviously is from this neighborhood, and she has not only not lifted a finger to stop the just absolute collapse of housing for working people in this neighborhood. She's been a facilitator of it.
Absolutely.
And so I want you to bring all those themes together.
So let's talk about it. So her mother ran for city council and won city council. God bless her. Yvette Clarke then inherited her mother's city council seat. And then she worked for the congressman who she later ran to replace, and has now been in office for going on 14 years. And like you said, she is responsible for the collapse of housing. She takes thousands and thousands of dollars from real estate developers in our district. The same real estate developers who are pushing poor people to the margins, not even to the margins anymore. They're off the damn map because they can't live in Brooklyn anymore. So we talk about the military industrial complex. She is proud. She said she's proud to take thousands of dollars from Boeing, Raytheon, BAE Systems, General Dynamics. And in our district, which is 50% African American, there are 8 recruiting stations in our district. But they're not in Park Slope. They're not in Prospect Park. They're on Utica Ave. They're on Flatbush. They're on Nostrand. 8 in our damn district. So why? There's no defense industry in our district. When you walk into the store and you put $1 on the counter, you expect something in return. Indeed. These people aren't giving her money because she's amenable, because they like the cut of her jib. They're giving her money because they expect something in return. And whatever they expect in return is anathema to people who live in my district, because it's not going to serve them. It's going to hurt them. So just today I saw an interview with her. She sits on the powerful Energy and Commerce Committee, which is responsible for healthcare. She's the vice chair of it. Why hasn't she brought a Medicare for All bill to the House floor? You know why? Because she takes hundreds of thousands of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry. So in one breath, she says, yes, I'm for Medicare for all. But in the other breath, she empowers the same industries that lobby to kill the bills before they even make it to the floor. If your child is born with cancer, God forbid, cancer drugs are $10,000 a month. Are you supposed to hope you get to somebody starts a GoFundMe for you? No, we literally, thousands of people in this country are dying every single year because they don't have access to healthcare. And I think, I even said access because they program us to say it. We don't need access anymore. We need universal healthcare. I have access to a Ferrari. I just can't afford the damn thing. Right. And I'll never be able to afford a Ferrari. Right. So a pathway to access to affordability, all these are code words that industry speak for. Nothing's going to change. Things are going to stay the same. And for us to live in a district that is 50% African American and to have had a black congresswoman for 14 years, and by every measurable metric, black folks in our community are doing so much worse, is a damn shame. It is a shame. Martin Luther King Jr. said, don't tell me what you believe. Show me what you do, and I'll tell you what you believe. She has already shown us what she believes.
Absolutely. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.